The Aurelia Grand Hotel lobby gleamed under crystal chandeliers. A line of black-suited security guards stood rigid, blocking ordinary guests from the VIP section. A simple man in casual clothes sat in the corner with his young daughter, waiting to sign a maintenance contract. Caleb Vance, single father, just trying to make ends meet. Head of security Darius Kane approached with a mocking smile. "Wrong man, buddy. This isn't your place." Laughter erupted as several guests looked on with amusement. Caleb quietly placed his cracked glass on the table and slowly rolled up his sleeve. Scars and strange markings became visible. The entire space fell dead silent. Meet Caleb Vance, 38 years old, single father, former Iron Veil Unit Special Forces operative, missing presumed dead after the Ravenfield base fire. Now he works as a building maintenance engineer, raising his daughter alone. His 10-year-old daughter Aria has an innocent ritual. She folds paper cranes from whatever scraps she can find. Then she tucks one into her father's shirt pocket every morning. "As long as the crane stays safe, you stay safe, Daddy," she always says with complete seriousness. Caleb just smiles and lets her believe. If only protection were that simple. Tonight was supposed to be routine. Caleb had brought Aria to the Aurelia Grand while he waited to sign a fire safety system maintenance contract. The hotel was expensive, but they had comfortable seating and free Wi-Fi for Aria's tablet. Aria sat across from him, carefully folding a napkin into another crane. Her concentration was absolute, tiny fingers working with surprising skill. That's when the trouble started. The hotel manager noticed Caleb's casual attire and approached with obvious disdain. "Sir," the manager said coldly, "the technical service area is in the basement. This lobby is for guests only." A group of wealthy guests at the bar began whispering and pointing. "Single dad trying to get into places above his level," one woman said with cruel amusement. "Probably can't afford a babysitter," her companion added, "so he drags the poor kid everywhere." Aria's hands froze mid-fold. Her cheeks flushed red as she realized they were talking about her and her daddy. Caleb felt his jaw tighten, but he chose silence for Aria's sake. "Look at that jacket," another voice chimed in. "Probably from a thrift store. What kind of father can't provide better?" The cruel whispers grew louder. Aria's paper crane crumpled slightly in her small fist as tears welled up in her eyes. Caleb reached across and gently took her hand. "It's okay, sweetheart. They don't know us." But the humiliation burned. Not for himself, but for Aria. She didn't deserve this. That's when Caleb noticed something else happening across the lobby. In the VIP section, a young woman in a simple black dress was being cornered by Darius Kane and two other security guards. The woman looked uncomfortable, trapped between expensive furniture and their approaching bodies. "Come on, sit with us," Darius said with a predatory smile. "The party's more fun with a beautiful woman like you." The woman shook her head firmly. "I don't know you. Please leave me alone." "Don't be shy," another guard stepped closer. "We're important people. You should feel honored." Caleb watched the woman's eyes dart around the lobby, looking for help. Other guests pretended not to notice. The staff looked away. Darius reached out and grabbed the woman's arm. That's when Caleb stood up. He moved slowly, deliberately. His cracked glass remained on the table as he approached the VIP section. Aria looked up at her father, paper crane forgotten in her palm. Caleb's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Calm, controlled, absolutely clear. "Take your hands off her." Darius turned with a mocking laugh. "Wrong man, buddy. Wrong place. Wrong time." The entire lobby fell silent as two worlds collided. Before we dive into the most intense part, tell me where you're watching this from. It's strange how one luxurious room can reach all the way to where you're sitting. Hit subscribe to continue the journey. Darius continued his mocking laughter, making sure everyone in the lobby could hear. "What are you supposed to be, maintenance boy?" he said loudly. "A broken-down handyman playing hero?" The wealthy guests erupted in cruel laughter. Their voices carried across the marble floor, echoing off crystal chandeliers. "Single dads these days," one VIP customer sneered, "think they know something about honor just because they're raising kids alone." Another guest chimed in, probably unemployed half the time, living off government assistance. Arya watched from their table, tears streaming down her small face. Caleb kept his hand on his shirt pocket, feeling the paper crane she'd made that morning. But he noticed details others missed. The security cameras in the corners had been quietly turned away from the VIP section. The emergency exit lights behind the bar were switched off. Someone had orchestrated this. Caleb watched the hotel manager slip an envelope to Darius when he thought no one was looking. Money had changed hands here. The young woman in the black dress spoke up, her voice shaking. "I don't know these men. I just want to leave." Caleb spoke loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. The lady said no. That should be enough for any decent person. Darius stepped closer, invading Caleb's personal space. "Wrong man, buddy. You picked the wrong script tonight." The laughter grew louder. Several guests pulled out phones to record what they thought would be an entertaining confrontation between security and a troublemaker. "Look at this guy," someone called out, "trying to impress a woman way out of his league." "His daughter's watching him make a fool of himself," another voice added. "What kind of example is that?" Arya buried her face in her hands, unable to watch her father being humiliated by strangers. Caleb felt that familiar coldness settle over him, the same calm that had kept him alive through countless missions. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was a public place, with his daughter watching. The woman tried to stand up and leave, but Darius grabbed her wrist firmly. "Come on, sweetheart," he said with fake charm. "Don't be rude. We're just trying to show you a good time." "Let me go," she said, trying to pull away. "I need to leave." "The night's young," the second guard said, blocking her path, "and we haven't even properly introduced ourselves." Caleb observed more suspicious details. The bar staff had disappeared into the back room. The front desk clerk was mysteriously absent. Even the valet had stepped outside. Someone wanted privacy for whatever was about to happen. "Please," the woman said, her voice growing desperate. "I just want to go home." Darius tightened his grip on her wrist. "Wrong answer, beautiful. You're coming with us." The guest continued recording, treating the situation like entertainment rather than assault. "Bet she's just playing hard to get," one woman said with cruel amusement. "Security knows how to handle difficult customers," her companion agreed. Caleb's military training kicked in as he assessed the situation. 3 guards. Multiple escape routes blocked. Cameras disabled. This was a setup. But what bothered him most was Arya. His daughter was watching grown men laugh at her father's attempt to help someone in trouble. "Sir," the hotel manager approached Caleb with fake politeness. "These are valued customers. Perhaps you should return to your table and mind your own business." "This is my business," Caleb replied calmly. "When someone says no, that means no." Darius laughed even louder. "Wrong man at the wrong time, buddy. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" "I know exactly what I'm dealing with," Caleb said, his voice carrying an edge that made several nearby guests stop laughing. The woman looked directly at Caleb with desperate eyes. "Please help me." That's when Darius made his mistake. He shoved Caleb hard in the chest, trying to establish dominance in front of the crowd. "Wrong man, buddy. You chose the wrong fight tonight." The entire lobby watched as Caleb absorbed the impact without moving. He stood like a stone statue, completely unmoved by the assault. "Last warning," Caleb said quietly. "Take your hands off her." "Or what?" Darius sneered. "You'll call the police." "We own the police in this district." He gestured to his 2 companions, who moved to flank Caleb on both sides. "Wrong man in the wrong place," the second guard said. "Time to learn your lesson." Arya wiped her tears and watched her father with growing fear. The paper crane in his pocket seemed so small and fragile against 3 large men. Darius tightened his grip on the woman's wrist until she winced in pain. "Last chance to walk away, maintenance boy," he said with cruel confidence. The wealthy guests held their phones higher, expecting to record Caleb's humiliation and retreat. But instead, Caleb did something no one expected. He slowly, deliberately rolled up his sleeve. Scars became visible, old wounds that told stories of violence and survival. And there, clear as day, was a tattoo most people had only heard whispers about. The Iron Veil unit insignia. The laughter died instantly. Several guests recognized the symbol and gasped audibly. "Holy shit," someone whispered. "That's Iron Veil." Darius's confident expression faltered as he stared at the markings on Caleb's arm. "That's impossible," he said, his voice losing its swagger. "Iron Veil was destroyed. Everyone died. I can affirm." Caleb's eyes met Darius's with the kind of calm that only comes from men who've seen too much death. "Wrong man," Caleb said quietly. "Maybe you should reconsider who you're dealing with." The entire lobby held its breath as the game suddenly changed. The moment he rolled up his sleeve, the whole room went silent. "In your opinion, there are some scars that don't need explanation. Just seeing them is enough. Do you agree? Comment right now." What happened next took less than 15 seconds. Caleb didn't explode into violence like an action movie. Instead, he moved with the surgical precision of someone trained to end conflicts quickly and efficiently. The cracked glass from his table became his first tool. As Darius reached for the woman again, Caleb swept the glass rim across the security chief's wrist at exactly the right angle. The pressure point contact made Darius's hand go instantly numb, forcing him to release his grip. "What the hell?" Darius started to say, but Caleb was already addressing the second threat. A wooden chair became his next tool. One fluid motion tilted it at the perfect angle, using the legs to pin the second guard against the wall without causing serious injury. The third guard tried to grab Caleb from behind. That was a mistake. Caleb spun, using the receipt tape from the nearby concierge desk. 3 quick movements secured the man's thumb in a pressure hold that dropped him to his knees, completely immobilized but unharmed. The entire lobby stared in stunned silence. 3 security guards were on the floor, groaning but not seriously injured. Caleb stood calmly above them, not even breathing hard. The laughter and mockery had died completely. Aurelia watched from her table with wide eyes. Her father had moved like water, flowing around obstacles, using everything around him as a tool. "Impossible," someone whispered. The woman stepped back, free from her captors but shaking with shock. That's when she looked directly at Caleb and spoke words that changed everything. "You don't know who I am," she said, her voice steadying. "I'm Celine Hart, heiress to Hartwell Global." The lobby erupted in gasps and whispers. Hartwell Global was worth $15 billion. "I've been working undercover," Celine continued, her voice growing stronger. "We suspected this hotel chain was involved in money laundering and corruption. These men," she pointed to the guards on the floor, "are part of a network that bribes hotel staff to let them operate here." Caleb's expression didn't change. "Doesn't matter who you are. No one has the right to put their hands on you." Celine stared at him with growing recognition. "Wait, your movement patterns, the way you handled that situation." Her eyes widened. "You're Ghost, Jack Caleb from Iron Veil Unit." The murmurs in the lobby grew louder. People began pulling out phones, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Caleb picked up his cracked glass and walked back toward his table. "That man disappeared a long time ago." "No," Celine shook her head. "You're the unit commander who vanished after the Ravenfield base explosion. Everyone thought the entire Iron Veil unit was destroyed." A former military officer in the crowd whispered loudly enough for others to hear. "My God, that's the Ghost unit marking. He's real." The revelation spread through the lobby like wildfire. Phones came out everywhere as people realized they were looking at a legend. "Iron Veil was the most elite special forces unit ever created," someone explained to their companion. "They were erased from all official records after a classified mission went wrong." Caleb continued walking toward Aurelia, ignoring the attention. "Mr. Caleb," Celine called out, "today you didn't just save me. You helped expose a criminal network that's been operating in luxury hotels across 3 states." As if on cue, police sirens wailed outside the hotel. Within minutes, officers flooded the lobby. The hotel manager appeared, his face pale with terror when he saw Celine standing free. "Miss Hart," the manager stammered, "I can explain everything." "You can explain to the prosecutors," Celine cut him off. "We have recordings of every bribe you've taken." The 3 security guards were arrested as police secured the scene. Evidence of the money laundering operation was already being collected from the hotel's computers. Guests who had been mocking Caleb an hour earlier now looked ashamed and uncomfortable. As the arrest continued, Celine approached Caleb's table where he sat with Arya. Mr. Caleb, I need to thank you properly. Caleb was helping Arya pack up her origami supplies. No thanks needed, just doing what's right. Celine noticed Arya's paper cranes scattered on the table. Did you make all these? Arya nodded shyly. I make them for Daddy. They keep him safe. Celine picked up one of the delicate cranes, examining the careful folds. They're beautiful, and clearly very powerful. As the police led Darius away in handcuffs, he shouted back at Caleb. This isn't over. You have no idea what kind of people you're dealing with. Caleb looked up calmly from helping Arya. Actually, I know exactly what kind of people you are. And now everyone else does too. The lobby erupted in spontaneous applause. Guests who had been cruel and mocking now wanted to shake the hand of the man who had taken down a criminal network. But Caleb wasn't interested in praise. We need to go, sweetheart, he told Arya. You have school tomorrow. Celine sat down at their table. The Iron Veil program saved countless lives during its operation. You train the best protection specialists in the world. Caleb's expression remained neutral. I train maintenance workers now. You train them that real strength isn't about domination. It's about protection, about knowing when to act and when to show restraint. Arya looked between her father and Celine with curious eyes. Are you famous like my daddy? Celine smiled. Your daddy is the famous one, sweetheart. He's a real hero. I know, Arya said simply. That's why I make him cranes. Heroes need extra protection. As police finished securing the evidence and the hotel began to empty, Celine made an announcement that would change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, addressing the remaining guests and the camera phone still recording, what you witnessed tonight wasn't just one man protecting one woman. You saw someone willing to stand up for what's right, even when it cost him public ridicule. She held up one of Arya's paper cranes. This little girl makes these for her father because she believes they keep him safe. Tonight, her father kept all of us safe, from predators, from corruption, and from the lie that money makes you untouchable. The crowd listened in absolute silence. Hartwell Global will be launching a new foundation tomorrow. It's called Line in the Sand, and it will train security professionals in proper boundaries and ethical behavior. Celine looked directly at Caleb. Because sometimes the smallest gestures draw the most important lines. Caleb stood up, taking Arya's hand. We really do need to go. As they walked toward the exit, Celine called out one more time. Mr. Caleb, the world still needs teachers like you. Caleb paused at the door, not turning around. Tonight, I'm just a father. But as they left the hotel, their story was already spreading across the internet. And sometimes the smallest acts of courage create the biggest waves. Within 3 hours, the video had exploded across every social media platform. Wrong man, single dad reveals military past became the #1 trending topic worldwide. The clip showing Caleb's calm takedown of 3 corrupt guards was shared millions of times. But the story that emerged was even more powerful than the action. News outlets picked up Celine's revelation about the corruption investigation. The Aurelia Grand's entire management was exposed as part of a money laundering operation. The 3 arrested guards were connected to organized crime networks operating in luxury hotels across multiple states. Caleb's quiet, wrong man had unraveled a criminal empire. At home that evening, Caleb and Arya watched the news coverage in their small apartment. Daddy, you're on TV again, Arya said, pointing at the screen. The reporter stood outside the Aurelia Grand. The man being called the paper crane hero is Caleb Vance, a former Iron Veil unit commander thought killed in action 3 years ago. Caleb reached for the remote to turn it off, but Arya stopped him. I want to see, she said seriously. On screen, Celine Hart appeared at a press conference. Mr. Vance didn't know who I was, Celine said to the gathered media. He saw someone in trouble and acted. That's not heroism. That's simply being decent. She held up one of Arya's paper cranes. This was made by his 10-year-old daughter, who believes these keep her father safe. Tonight, her father kept all of us safe. The camera zoomed in on the delicate paper crane. Tomorrow, Hartwell Global will announce the Line in the Sand Foundation. Our mission is to train security professionals in ethical boundaries, because you don't need special forces training to know right from wrong. Arya clapped her hands together. Daddy, she likes my cranes. Caleb smiled, the first genuine smile he'd had in years. She does, sweetheart. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. A knock at their door revealed Celine Hart, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater. Behind her stood a woman with professional camera equipment. Mr. Vance, Celine said, I was hoping we could talk. Caleb looked suspicious. About what? About changing how the world thinks about protection. They sat at Caleb's small kitchen table while Aurelia played nearby. The camera remained off. The response has been overwhelming, Celine explained. Thousands of security professionals want to learn what you demonstrated last night. Not the physical techniques, the mindset. Caleb shook his head. I'm not a teacher anymore. You never stopped being a teacher, Celine replied. Last night you taught an entire hotel lobby that one person can make a difference. She pulled out her phone, showing him messages from around the world. A security guard in Tokyo refused to harass a customer yesterday, citing your example. A bouncer in London prevented an assault using your exact approach. A father in Chicago protected his daughter's friend at a party. Caleb read the messages, his expression softening. Wrong man is becoming a symbol, Celine continued. People are realizing that sometimes the person everyone underestimates is exactly the right person for the job. Aurelia looked up from her paper folding. Are you going to help more people, Daddy? Caleb knelt down beside his daughter. What do you think I should do? Aurelia held up her latest creation, a crane made from newspaper. I think your cranes should teach other people how to be safe. That afternoon, Caleb agreed to one interview. The reporter was respectful, gentle. She asked about his military background, his daughter, his decision to intervene. What would you say to people who think you were lucky? She asked. Caleb considered the question carefully. Luck had nothing to do with it, training did. But more importantly, knowing that someone needed help did. What about people who say civilians shouldn't get involved? There are no civilians when someone's in danger, Caleb replied. There are only people who act and people who look away. The interview aired that evening to massive viewership, but Caleb's phone started ringing before it was even over. Corporate security firms wanting to hire him, government agencies offering contracts, media companies requesting exclusive deals. Caleb declined them all. Daddy, Aurelia asked as they ate dinner, why don't you want to be famous? Because the important work happens quietly, Caleb explained. Like last night at the hotel. Like when you make cranes for people you care about. A week later, the Line in the Sand Foundation officially launched. Celine had insisted on hosting the event at a community center rather than a corporate headquarters. The audience was filled with security guards, hotel workers, teachers, and parents. Caleb stood at the back with Aurelia, wearing the same worn jacket from the hotel. Celine spoke about the foundation's mission. We're not training warriors, we're training protectors. People who understand that real strength comes from restraint, not aggression. The symbol of the foundation appeared on the screen behind her. Aurilla's paper crane design, elegant and meaningful. Every person trained by this foundation will carry a paper crane, Celine announced, not as decoration, but as a reminder that the smallest actions can have the biggest impact. The audience erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Celine found Caleb in the parking lot. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For showing me that real power isn't about position or money. It's about choosing to protect instead of exploit. Caleb looked at Aurelia, who was teaching other children how to fold cranes. She's the real teacher, he said. I just follow her example. As they drove home, Aurelia held a new crane she'd made during the event. Daddy, what if everyone had paper cranes? Caleb smiled. Then maybe everyone would remember to take care of each other. Outside their car window, the city looked the same as always. But something fundamental had shifted, and it started with two simple words, wrong man. 1 month later, Celine stood on stage at the Line in the Sand Foundation headquarters. Behind her, a massive screen displayed the paper crane logo that had become a symbol of ethical protection worldwide. The auditorium was packed with security professionals, hotel workers, and ordinary people inspired by Caleb's story. Wrong man or right person, right time, Celine announced to the crowd. Thanks to one father, The world remembered that boundaries exist for a reason. The audience erupted in thunderous applause. This foundation has already trained over 5,000 security professionals in ethical boundaries. Because real strength isn't about force, it's about knowing when to draw the line. The camera panned across the audience, searching for the man who started it all. In the very back row, almost hidden in shadows, sat Caleb and Aurelia. He wore the same worn jacket from the hotel. She held a fresh paper crane in her small hands. Aurelia whispered to her father, "Daddy, my cranes are flying everywhere now." Caleb nodded, watching the screens that showed lean in the sand centers, opening in dozens of cities worldwide. "Yeah, sweetheart, but they'll always find their way home." Celine continued her speech. "We've received reports from security teams across 6 countries. A simple paper crane pin reminds them that protection means respect, that power comes with responsibility." After the ceremony, as crowds dispersed, Caleb and Aurelia slipped away quietly. They had almost reached their car when Celine caught up with them. "Caleb, wait!" He turned, Auria's hand safely in his. "I wanted to give you this," Celine said, holding out a small envelope. Caleb opened it carefully. Inside was an old photograph. Him in military uniform, standing with his Iron Veil unit team before the Ravenfield incident. On the back, someone had written in familiar handwriting, "Wrong man? No. Right person, right time. And we still need you." Caleb looked up at Celine, questions in his eyes. "Your former commanding officer contacted me," she explained. "He's been following your story. He wants to know if you're ready to train a different kind of soldier." Aurelia tugged on her father's jacket. "What does it mean, Daddy?" Caleb knelt down to her level. "It means some people think Daddy should teach others how to protect people. Like how I teach kids to make cranes? Exactly like that." Aurelia considered this seriously, then nodded. "I think you should. Everyone deserves to feel safe." The screen faded to black, showing only the paper crane logo spinning slowly in golden light. There are scars that aren't meant for showing off, but for remembering that true honor means protecting other people's boundaries. A father's real strength isn't in shouting, but in the calm that makes others stop what they're doing. If you were him, what would you choose? Keep living quietly with your family, or step forward so the world remembers what wrong man really means? Comment right now, because your answer might write the second part of this story.